You may soon be able to pick up a six-pack and also do a quick pick at beer stores. Good afternoon. We're learning today the province has quietly opened the door to Lotto sales in beer stores.
As part of the changes being made to expand where you can buy beer and wine. CTV's Siobhan Morris joins us live with all the details. Siobhan.
Well, this is a new option being given to the beer store, maybe to help ease the transition into that new alcohol framework. What we don't know yet is if whether that's an option they will exercise or when.
You could be hearing the whir of lottery kiosks somewhere new. The beer store has been given the okay to sell Lotto tickets. It's part of the accelerated plan to sell more kinds of booze in more places announced last month.
The government is creating the conditions for a more open and convenient marketplace.
Just because the beer store can sell a Lotto 649 ticket alongside lagers doesn't mean they will. The retailer is considering its options. While convenience stores will have the option to sell alcohol this fall, the threat of more Lotto competition adds an extra layer of stress for some.
I don't like it.
Anxious about losing traffic to bigger retailers.
The small store very slow business, more going down. Yeah, no business.
At Town Star Food Market, Daniel Chang isn't worried if more players want to get in on a corner of the business that doesn't pack a big payday.
A lot of work can make a little bit of money, and if sell more or less, it doesn't matter for me.
The beer store is also being given the okay to sell food and some other items. It's been promised $225 million taxpayer dollars to help ease the transition to the new marketplace, keep stores open, and secure jobs.
We have heard from the mayor on this plan in the last little while. While there is some stress among owners of small businesses about the possibility of Lotto tickets being sold at the beer store, Olivia Chow says that is up to the province, but she hopes that people will support small businesses.
But I thought that the small corner store can now sell beer. So it's up to the province who is selling beer or lottery. At the end of the day, let's drink and gamble responsibly. And I'm not sure the children should be anywhere close to it, but hey, right now, let us look to stimulate the economy and have the small business to thrive. Because in some of the restaurants, for example, we know that some of them are having a harder time. Now the summer is here, Cafe Tio are in full swing. Let's go out and support our small businesses, whether they're corner store or restaurants.
The LCBO already has this ability to sell lottery tickets, but at this point, it's not an option they have exercised. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. And still to come on CTV News at noon, Mayor-elect Carolyn Parrish has been recognized by Mississauga City Council as it meets for the first time since a by-election was held Monday. We'll have those details just ahead.
But first, let's take a look outside. A bit of a cloudy start and cool, but temperatures are rising. And the great news is that trend is going to continue for a few days. There is some rain on the way, however. Jessica Smith has a look at the current conditions. Hey, Jess.
Hey, with all the heat and humidity building up, it's that perfect storm, pun intended, of seeing some scattered shower activity over the next few days. But for today, we are staying sunny and dry. We're looking at high pressure that has made its way past southern Ontario, keeping us nice and clear as we get our day started. That cloud we saw early on will push its way out, and we are looking at a really sunny second half to the day. We're sitting kind of in the upper teens, low 20s as we get our morning started, and we're starting to see a transition take place. We have a more southerly wind right now, pretty moderate at just 15 kilometers an hour, and no major gusts out there. As we make our way in towards the islands through Pearson, we're starting to see that sunshine push its way out, and we're going to see a decent amount of daytime heating that will definitely warm things up. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast, including temperatures in the 30s in the next 7 days. Right now, back over to Nathan and Michelle.
All right. Thank you, Jess. There's been a setback for people trying to save Ontario Place.
An attempt to get a court to force a review of plans to redevelop the West Island into a spa has been shut down. CTV's Mike Walker joins us live with the latest chapter in all of this. Mike.
Well, the courts have tossed out a legal challenge by advocacy group Ontario Place for All, which was seeking the Ford government conduct an environmental assessment on the West Island. Now, the West Island is a proposed site for a massive private spa and water park. In its application, Ontario Place for All had argued proceeding with the redevelopment without an environmental assessment would have destroyed more than 800 trees, as well as the aquatic habitat, due to small waterways being filled in. But in its decision, the Ontario Superior Court ruled that the application could not succeed due to new legislation the Ford government brought in late last year, exempting the site from an environmental review. Legislation, the group argues, the government introduced to undermine its legal challenge.
We're extremely disappointed, and we're very concerned with the future of West Island now. You know, the Ontario government, they brought an act in December that seems specifically meant to short circuit our action, to ask the Ontario government to follow their own laws and conduct an environmental assessment at West Island.
This is disappointing, but the fight's not over. There's still an Auditor General report to come out. There's also another lawsuit arguing that the bill they introduced, that the Ford government introduced, is unconstitutional. And then there's immense people power. There are 30 members on Ontario Place for All. There are tens of thousands of people who have signed petitions.
Ontario Place for All is currently reviewing the court's decision and deciding its next steps, which includes whether it will appeal. We did reach out to the Ford government for comment. A spokesperson for the Attorney General tells us because there is still an appeal period, it would be inappropriate to comment on this matter at this time. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Nathan, back to you.
All right, thank you, Mike. To Mississauga now, where council's meeting for the first time today since Carolyn Parrish was elected as the new mayor.
And we're going to call this meeting to order. I just want to acknowledge our new mayor-elect, who is in the room right now, Councillor Carolyn Parrish. So thank you for joining us. We're looking forward to working with you, and we're really excited about this journey.
Parrish is not a council member after resigning her Ward 5 seat to run for mayor, but she was in the council chamber this morning as the regular council meeting was held. No date has been set for a swearing in, according to her campaign manager, and no details are being provided regarding transition meetings. Mayor Olivia Chow was on hand for a ceremonial groundbreaking, marking the beginning of construction on the Italian-Canadian Immigrant tribute installation.
The mayor said it's important to honor the histories of immigrant communities and their contributions to Canada.
Why do we remember the past and our pioneers and our parents? Why? Because we need that sense of pride. I have friends that grew up with me that did not want to hold the chopsticks. That's why we remember. That's why we're going to be sitting here looking at the flag, be able to admire that sculpture and to read and hear about the stories, the sacrifices, and that hard work, that work ethic that built this incredible city, a global beacon of hope.
The Italian-Canadian Immigrant Tribute will be located at the Columbus Centre at Lawrence and Dufferin.
Police have made an arrest in the stabbing of a teenage boy during a brawl near Jane and Lawrence yesterday. Security camera video shows what looks like two teenage boys running away from the scene shortly after the stabbing. The 15-year-old who was stabbed was found on Ellis Avenue. Now, police say two others suffered minor injuries. The brawl occurred yesterday afternoon, shortly after students from Weston Collegiate were let out for the day.
So what I'm told is that the altercation initially starts near the school, near Weston Collegiate, and then some parties make their way over here. So and again, as I mentioned earlier, I am not overly familiar with the streets and the surrounding streets, but certainly those that are the community members that are familiar with the area, if you think that you might have some information or something on your cameras between, and I think you were pointing in this direction, Weston Collegiate and Ellis Avenue, where we are now, please have a look at that, and anything that you do have, please let us know and contact 12 Division at 808-1200.
As many as 30 young people were involved.
Toronto police say they've made an arrest in a child luring investigation. Police say they executed a search warrant in the Dufferin and King Street West area and arrested 38-year-old Fathi Rashid of Toronto. He is accused of portraying himself as 17 years old online and then meeting up with and sexually assaulting a victim who's only referred to as a child. Rashid faces multiple charges, including luring and child sexual assault, and failed to comply with a release order.
The investigation continues after a deadly crash on the Gardiner yesterday caused massive traffic tie-ups for hours. The crash happened at around 2:15 near York Street, leading to a full closure of the westbound lanes in the downtown core. 2 dump trucks and a passenger vehicle were involved. Police say one of the drivers of the trucks, and a man in his 50s, went into medical distress and was pronounced dead at the scene. The crash also forced drivers off the southbound DVP, leading to even more traffic woes. After more than 3 hours, the collision was cleared and drivers were able to get through.
Toronto's mayor was among those taking part in a prayer vigil at the site of a fire that destroyed a historic Toronto church.
In death, there's resurrection. And when things are burned down, it can come up again. When things are in ashes, it can be rebuilt.
Church leaders, parishioners, politicians, and local community members gathered across from St. Anne's Anglican Church on Gladstone Avenue near Dundas. Many are grieving after Sunday's devastating fire, but there is also resolve for St. Anne's to carry on.
We're hearing from a Canadian musical icon, Celine Dion, after her battle with stiff person syndrome.
Celine Dion says she knew something was wrong years before she sought a diagnosis. CTV's Andrew Johnson reports.
My voice is the conductor of my life.
When stiff person syndrome began to diminish that voice and Celine Dion struggled to sing.
And now you can show me, yeah. And that's what happens, and it's very difficult for me.
She says she tried to hide her symptoms for more than a decade.
Lying to the people who got me where I am today. I could not do it anymore.
In an emotional new interview with NBC, Dion regrets trying to soldier on for so long.
My husband as well was fighting for his own life. I had to raise my kids. I had to hide. I had to try to be a hero.
Now she's trying to overcome the rare autoimmune disorder she revealed publicly in 2022 that involves debilitating muscle spasms and cramping.
It's like somebody's strangling you. It's like somebody's pushing your larynx this way.
Oh.
So it's like you're talking like that, and you cannot go high or lower.
The condition, at its worst, literally bone-crushing.
I had broken ribs at one point.
The 56-year-old pop icon's fight for her life and her voice involves physical therapy and medication. She is adamant the show, her show, will go on.
I'm going to go back on stage, even if I have to crawl. Not just because I have to or because I need to. It's because I want to. And I miss it.
Dion's journey is being chronicled in a documentary streaming on Prime later this month as her determination to return to the stage inspires millions. A return she insists is a matter of when, not if. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
The Prime Minister left Ottawa this morning for the G7 summit in Italy.
Justin Trudeau and the other leaders are expected to discuss Russia's war against Ukraine and the war in the Middle East, among other priorities. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver has the details.
The Canadian government says they want to talk about artificial intelligence. They want to talk about the fight against climate change, the importance of defending democracies and democratic values. The government says they intend to bring up issues about misinformation and disinformation, as well as foreign interference. But really, the topics that are expected to loom large here, the unrest in the Middle East, as well as the war in Ukraine. The United States is hoping that the G7 leaders will be able to come to some agreement on an ability ability to use the frozen Russian assets, there's hundreds of billions, to be able to help finance the war in Ukraine. This is something that the Canadian government is in support of and is pushing for as well. But some other European allies have said they're a little skeptical about that idea, wondering about the legal implications. This will also be the first time that the Prime Minister will get a chance to be in the same room with the Indian Prime Minister after it was revealed that there was an assassination attempt and an assassination here on Canadian soil. After that, the Prime Minister will go to a peace summit being held by the Swiss. This is all about the war in Ukraine, trying to get allies together to create more steadfast support for that war in Ukraine, as well as to try to come up for a lasting solution for peace in that region. This is a very quick trip for the Prime Minister, but these two summits, allies of getting together, say it's extremely important, and experts as well say this is a very big moment in history that Canadians and their allies need to be together for. Back to you.
In Ottawa, the federal government provided an update today on the wildfire situation in Canada.
There are now 69 active wildfires burning. To date, 500,000 hectares have burned. Now, but in spite of this situation, the good news is that the number of fires is well below average for this time of the year. It is also well below the 10-year average for the total area burned for this time last year as well.
The minister says Canada is currently at a national preparedness level 2. That indicates wildfire activity is increasing with one or more jurisdictions, while the demand for firefighting equipment is light in other jurisdictions. But multiple regions are at an elevated risk due to a hot, dry, windy condition. Now, the key areas of concern include northeastern BC, northern Alberta, south central, northwest territories, and northern Quebec.
The U.S. Secretary of State says the war between Israel and Hamas will go on following the latest efforts to broker a ceasefire.
Over the course of what's now my 8th visit to the region since October 7th, everyone that I've engaged with has made clear that this is the path they want to pursue. Now, I can't speak for Hamas or answer for Hamas, and ultimately, it may not be the path that Hamas wants to pursue. But Hamas cannot and will not be allowed to decide the future for this region and its people.
In Qatar today, Antony Blinken said Hamas proposed numerous changes to a U.S.-backed ceasefire plan. He said some were workable and some were not. But America's top diplomat insists the U.S. and other mediators will keep trying to reach an agreement.
In Greece, hundreds of tourists were disappointed today to find out the Acropolis in Athens had been shut down. Temperatures were set to reach 39 degrees in the capital, where the Acropolis was closed from midday until 5 p.m. Visitors said authorities did not communicate the planned closure ahead of time. The site drew nearly 4 million people last year. The high temperature also prompted many schools to close in the area. Cooler weather in Greece is expected late Friday.
To a CTV News Toronto investigation now, where a paving company has made a name for itself by pretending to be another reputable company.
And now angry customers are contacting another company that has no idea what is going on. CTV's John Woodward has the details.
They just destroy your driveway.
Jun Shu might have said yes to a new driveway, but he says a paving company never gave him the chance. And on May 14th, workers ripped his driveway up without his permission.
No document, no any signatures, and nothing.
The business card said Royal Town Construction, and Shu, a 62-year-old engineer, called them to complain. He wasn't the only one, except Royal Town Construction supervisor Costa Alexopoulos had no idea what they were talking about.
We're not there. You know, we were in Brampton doing a parking lot. We're not even anywhere near where you guys are. And then it clicked in.
His business card, similar but not identical to the ones the other company had left behind. Alexopoulos rushed down.
Let me see the asphalt tickets.
He took this video. It shows the workers silently scattering.
They left machines, equipment behind and just took off.
One of those machines left behind, this roller. Shu called Peel Regional Police and says officers told him they started a fraud investigation because other neighbors had been hit too.
More than 10 victims from this case.
But a few days later, different officers returned, Shu said, asking about that roller. They can be seen on a neighbor's surveillance camera. Shu said he wanted to hold on to it as collateral for his driveway.
Those two police didn't know anything about this fraud case.
The next time the officers returned, they weren't asking. Shu was arrested. The video shows him being put into a police car as his wife tries to figure out what is happening. And while Shu is spending 6 hours in jail, the video shows the police standing by as the owner of that roller loads it up on a flatbed truck.
In my 62 years history, I didn't have anything like this. I feel that I was badly treated by police.
Peel police say they're looking into what happened and don't have all the answers yet. But they did confirm that the complainant in the case that resulted in the arrest of Jun Shu was a paving company. Alexopoulos said he never called police about that roller. He says his company uses much larger machines. He says he still gets multiple calls from customers complaining about another company using his name.
They're smart. They're going to use one of the best names to get the work because they know it's going to be easy to get it.
Are these guys so good that somehow they've even scammed the police?
Well, when the police was there and the one pickup and trailer they left on site, the police ran the plate and told us it's coming back as unknown.
Alexopoulos wants customers to be wary, and if anyone shows up claiming to be Royaltown Construction, to call their office before agreeing to anything. As for Shu, he's planning to get his driveway fixed, this time by the real Royaltown Construction. John Woodward, CTV News.
Another piece of Canada's exploration history has been found off the coast of Newfoundland.
Ernest Shackleton explored the Antarctic, and the wreck of his last ship, the Quest, which sank in 1922, has been located on the ocean floor. CTV's Garrett Barry reports.
Well, a lot of excitement today, especially from the research team who say with these findings, they're now ready to bring the story of Ernest Shackleton back to life for a new generation.
6 decades have passed since the Quest was last seen, but pictures this week reveal its exact location on the ocean floor near Labrador. The boat, still remarkably intact, was tracked down by a team of shipwreck hunters using sonar technology. The Quest was used by Ernest Shackleton on what was supposed to be his swan song, a last expedition. But he died on board from a heart attack before he got to the Antarctic. The Quest got to Labrador as part of a second life as a stealing vessel for its Norwegian owners. It sank in 1962 when it got stuck in thick sea ice. The search team was led by the Royal Canadian Geographic Society. They said Shackleton's death in 1922 was the end of a great era of exploration. Searchers want to use this discovery to tell that story again.
Shackleton, not only the a great explorer, celebrated explorer, but someone who put human beings and human life ahead of his exploration goals. His endurance, his courage inspires people this day.
The next step will be to head back to the wreck site sometime later this year, even to take underwater photographs using ROVs or maybe even LiDAR technology and get a better picture of the shipwreck. Back to you.
All right, well, as we head in towards this midpoint of our week throughout the day today, we finally see a return to more seasonal weather. A more southerly wind going to help ramp up that daytime heating, and as we step in towards the end of the week, temperatures only getting warmer. But this comes at a bit of a price later on. For now, we're looking at sunshine, 23 this afternoon, feeling like 26, and a very moderate southerly wind, but that UV index on the higher side, so sun protection, hydration key. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast showing you just how hot it's going to get, and if that heat's going to make some thunderstorm activity before the week is all said and done.
The enemy usurped my throne.
We're going to King's Landing.
This senseless war must end.
Shall now us prevail.
Not like this.
I know the bad stuff that can happen with a bath remodel. Not with Bathfitter. Bathfitter is rock solid. Their tub-over-tub process means a great new bath in just a day with no demo, mess, or stress. Bathfitter, it just fits.
Let's maximize those dreams.
That's right. The next Lotto Max jackpot is an estimated $55 million plus an estimated 4 Max Millions.
A backyard putting green. What about a whole backyard course?
Got another dreamer.
Get your Lotto Max tickets today.
Spring is here, and there's no better time to get into a new Nissan. You've been waiting for the right moment to get out and drive, and great offers are ready and waiting for you. So check out all the latest tech, features, and thrills. It's all happening right now. During the Nissan Flash Sale, lease select models from as low as 2.49% and get a $500 Nissan bonus.
Optical Tamiris photography.
I don't know.
I got it. I don't have it.
Optimized offensive tomatomy.
What is it anyway?
Optical Coherence Tomography, or OCT, an advanced eye health scan that can help spot sight conditions early. At Specsavers, we think it's so important we include it with every eye exam.
Optical tomography.
Not everyone can say it, but everyone can have it. And if you're an eligible senior, you get eye exams at no cost to you, plus 30% off lens upgrades for all seniors.
Did you know that if you're injured on private property by falling on snow and ice, you must provide written notice within 60 days?
What?
That's right. And time is not on your side. Call Presler Law. We can help. Because what you don't know can really cost you. Call Presler Law now. 1-800-JUSTICE. One call, that's all.
Do your giggles turn to dribbles, or does the thought of travel make you unravel? At Eurospot, we're Canada's #1 pelvic health clinic for women and men to help you say goodbye to bladder leaks, urgency, night waking, prolapse, sexual dysfunction, and other pelvic health challenges. How? Simply by sitting on a chair, fully clothed. A chair that does 11,000 Kegels for you. We help you regain control so you can live life with freedom and confidence.
At Arista, we don't just build homes, we build communities. Arista Homes, celebrating 30 years.
Closed captioning of this program is brought to you in part by Gateway Casinos. Sizzling summer is on now with instant prizes, Napoleon barbecues, and a $100,000 grand prize draw.
Gorgeous blue sky today. Really nice, comfortable temperatures. There is a lot to like at this midweek mark.
Yeah, for sure. I think you got to take advantage of it, especially the next few days, because it seems like things can go up and down. You never know.
Oh, it's an emotional roller coaster, but we're still kind of tiptoeing between that meteorological start to summer and the astronomical start. The later one, the astronomical start, is really when you see that trend settle in for the warmer weather. But by the end of this week, we're close to the 30s. The beginning of next week, we are into the 30s. So it's hot. We're looking at humid X values next week into that 40-degree kind of feels like temperature range. So yes, we love the warmth, but it goes to the opposite end of the spectrum when it can be a little challenging and quite dangerous, to be honest, when it gets that hot outside. So we're giving you the heads up so you can plan accordingly. Weather is brought to you by Lee Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. Now we've seen a little more sunshine to get our day started. A bit of a time lapse of the clouds here moving out. We are looking at a beautiful second half to our days. If you want to get out and walk the dog, it won't be too hot outside as we head into the afternoon, and a nice southerly wind making for a beautiful day ahead of us for all the creatures out there, the people, the birds, the dogs, everything. Taking a look at our temperature map, it is beautiful as we get our day started. A little warmer into that southwestern corner. Winds are at 25. Here in the city, we're at 19. Ottawa at 18. Still pretty warm, though, through portions of northern Ontario into that low 20-degree range. We're looking at a really high UV index really right across the board. The only exception really is Ottawa right now, but in towards Windsor, they're at an 8. Toronto, we're at a 7. So sun protection covering up, longer layers. I know it's hard because it's warm outside, but that can also help if you work outside. Into the afternoon, we'll see a daytime high right around 23, so pretty close to seasonal. It'll feel like 26, but really everybody is right back at that seasonal mark. It was so cool to get the week started, and now we're kind of going to the opposite end of the temperature scale. Heading into this evening, we'll sit at 16. We should be at 14, so again, we're all kind of hovering a little closer to where we should be or just above. A little warmer still through Godridge over towards Owen Sound and London. As we make our way throughout the day today, again, that high pressure that pushed its way south of us, hanging out, keeping us clear, but we are watching a system that is going to move in, a cold front that will kind of slice through all that heat and humidity that is going to start building up. And when that happens, we have thunderstorm activity. As we make our way through the rest of our Wednesday, though, it's not all that bad out there. Decent amount of sunshine. Again, that UV index on the higher side. As we make our way in towards Thursday, this is where things get a little choppy. It gets a little hotter outside, and then we see that cold front slice its way through. So some cloud cover to start the day. We watch for the chance of showers in towards noon, very light in nature, and then heavier as we head in towards the overnight. So very spotty shower activity. It won't be a downpour by any means, but a good idea just to keep the umbrella handy. Another round as we get into our Friday morning, but then as we approach the lunch hour, a lot of that pushes out and we're looking at a beautiful day. So this rain, because of the nature of it, we have the warmer air at the surface, the cooler air aloft, that cold front coming through, and winds just change in direction. You put all those things together, and that just makes some pop-up shower activity. Temperature-wise, pretty seasonal today. Your Thursday, we get a little bit hotter out there. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in towards Father's Day, beautiful. And then you look ahead to next week, 32, 33, feeling like 41 by Tuesday next week. Michelle, Nathan.
Thank you, Jess. There's a campaign this month to help the Clearleaf Food Bank in Scarborough.
Purelator is pitching in a bid to collect 1,000 pounds of donations. CTV's John Musselman is standing by live with more on Purelator Tackle Hunger Month. John, we know there's a big need.
Sure is, Nathan. We're at Feed Scarborough here right now. This is a grassroots organization trying to combat hunger in the Scarborough area. We'll just show you some video now. There was a news event, as you mentioned this morning, Purelator, which is trying to tackle hunger as well as a corporate partner. They've donated a truck here to this organization that can be used. It's been converted to help collect and deliver food to the needy in this region. We can also tell you that Feed Scarborough serves about 3,000 people every week here in Scarborough. I'm told more than 200 clients are here every day. That shows you what the need is in the community. We did have a chance to speak to some of the people behind what was happening here today. Here's what they had to tell us.
So right now, around 42% of our clients have at least one full-time job, and still they need to come to food banks. And that is what we are seeing, which is heartbreaking on some level. But we are also seeing brand new refugees who are waiting for their social insurance number to come and getting their work permits to come, but they need access to support and food.
Well, it really encompasses our culture at Purelator. So we're a very dedicated team when it comes to delivering promises, and that includes promises such as food for hungry families. So it's become really ingrained in us to be able to do this and be able to help. And our Purelator Tackle Hunger charity, again, has been 20 years plus, and we take great pride in our opportunity to help our local community partners.
Now, I did have a chance to speak to a couple of clients here. They tell us this is a vital component to their daily lives, coming here to be able to get fresh produce as well as dry foods. I'm also told again by organizers just seconds ago that the number is now up to 7,000 a week clients relying on this organization. Reporting live from the scene, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, John. Coming up, imagine a glass front loading washer door exploding. It happened to a family, and they reached out to our Pat Foran for help. We'll have their story after this short break. Front-loading washing machines are a common appliance in most households.
CTV's Pat Foran talks to an Etobicoke man who had the glass shatter on his washer, and now he's worried it could happen again.
These are actually the clothes that we were going to do on the morning of the glass explosion.
Lacey Hepworth of Etobicoke says it was 2 weeks ago when her husband was about to do a load of laundry when the glass in the door of their washing machine shattered.
So here's the blood from my husband hurting himself and the glass absolutely exploding on my husband.
Hepworth says she was upstairs when it happened.
I was sleeping and the explosion of the glass was so loud it woke me up. I thought it was a car accident outside.
Hepworth has 2 small children and 2 dogs and says it could have been much worse.
It wasn't just large pieces. It was very small shards of glass, very sharp pieces of glass. It was shocking.
The washing machine is a Samsung. It's uncommon for a glass door to shatter on a front loader, but it does happen. We did a story with Nora Schrammick of Toronto 2.5 years ago when the door shattered on her Electrolux washing machine.
The glass
in the laundry, completely shattered.
In Hepworth's case, Samsung agreed to replace the glass in the door on her washer, but she says that's something she's not comfortable with.
I'm seeing shards of glass inside the machine. I have 2 young kids. I don't want to be scared to wash their clothes.
When CTV News reached out to Samsung, a spokesperson told us, customer satisfaction is a top priority for Samsung Canada. We are aware of this matter and are working with the customer on an amicable resolution. In the end, Samsung agreed to give Hepworth a brand new washing machine, which was great news for her.
Thank you so much, CTV. You guys definitely saved the day for me. Thank you a million times over. I am so happy that I contacted you guys.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
News now from the world of sports. There are multiple reports Kevin Biggio is headed west. The Los Angeles Dodgers have reportedly acquired the infielder from the Blue Jays. ESPN says Toronto will receive right-handed prospect Braden Fisher in exchange. The Jays designated Biggio for assignment on Friday. The 29-year-old joins a Dodgers roster that is currently missing third baseman Max Muncy, who is on the injured list.
The Edmonton Oilers have a lot of work to do as they head home for Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Final.
The Florida Panthers are up 2-0 and are looking to take a commanding lead in the series. Their coach spoke to the media this morning, and there was one question on everyone's mind. What is the status of Captain Alexander Barkov following a hit to the head?
It felt better today and got through the skate today. As far as I know, I haven't checked after. Then we'll get him on a plane, get him off a plane, get him on the ice, and make a decision where he's at tomorrow. But he looked good today.
The Panthers were on the ice this morning in preparation for tomorrow night's pivotal game. The Oilers practiced this afternoon. Only 5 teams have ever won the Stanley Cup after losing the first 2 games of the series.
The oldest member of BTS has been discharged from South Korea's army after 18 months of military service. Jin became the first member of the group to wrap up the mandatory national service that puts their music careers on hold. The 31-year-old enlisted in the military in December of 2022. The final 4 members began their service a year later. The band is expected to reunite next year.
As remakes and sequels keep up a strong presence at the box office, a Halloween classic from the 90s could be making a return to the big screen.
Nicole Kidman.
Warner Brothers says a Practical Magic 2 is now in development, as reports suggest both Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock are in discussions to participate in the sequel. The original movie follows 2 sisters who descend from a long line of witches. No release date has been confirmed.
Fans are getting a first look today at a new upcoming Paddington Bear movie.
On Lucy! Paddington, we're here! On Lucy!
I'm afraid she set off on some sort of quest.
7 years after the last Paddington Bear movie, the animated bear is back. This time, he sets out on a journey to his native Peru, joined by the Brown family. But an unexpected mystery sends them on a journey through the Amazon rainforest. Paddington in Peru stars Ben Whishaw, Olivia Colman, Antonio Banderas, and several other familiar faces and voices. It has a UK release date set for November.
Shoot time! Come on, grab your friends.
And some exciting news for fans of animated series Adventure Time. Variety reports Cartoon Network Studios is working on 3 separate properties linked to the series, including an eventual Adventure Time movie. The other projects in development include new spin-off series directed at kids and preschoolers.
Still to come, some good news on the inflation front in the U.S. has given stock trading a boost today. We'll have the details in business.
Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
In business news, the markets are reacting to cooling inflation.
BNN Bloomberg's Andrew Bell has the details.
Hello there, here are your business headlines. U.S. stocks jumped to a new record high today, with investors encouraged by a broad cool down in inflation. The core U.S. Consumer Price Index rose at the slowest pace in more than 3 years. Investors worldwide were awaiting an interest rate announcement by the U.S. Federal Reserve due at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Discount retailer Dollarama reported slightly lower than expected sales growth as consumer demand flagged. The company's shares, which have surged to record highs this year, slipped 1%. Dollarama already has stores in Colombia, Guatemala, El Salvador and Peru, and it's now expanding to Mexico. And finally, shares in Canadian Western banks surged 69% after the Alberta-based lender agreed to a takeover by Montreal-based National Bank of Canada in a deal valued at $5 billion. For National Bank, the transaction is an opportunity to diversify its earnings away from Quebec. Meanwhile, shares in Quebec-based Laurentian Bank of Canada, which failed to find a buyer last year, rose 8%. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
As governments push for a massive acceleration in home building, a new report suggests it'll have to be accompanied by a boost in infrastructure spending. The Canadian Urban Institute estimates the average cost of infrastructure needed to support housing will likely exceed $100,000 for each newly built home. That is to cover resources ranging from water lines, roads and public transit to schools, fire halls and recreational facilities. The report noted municipalities often try to avoid debt or tax hikes to cover capital costs. It highlighted alternatives like moving away from prepaid development charges and leaning more on private capital.
The busy summer travel season may be getting underway, but some airlines are already increasing capacity ahead of the fall. Porter Airlines announced today it is doubling the capacity on 2 of its routes from Toronto Pearson International Airport. Specifically, it will now have 2 round-trip flights each day to Las Vegas starting in late August and to Los Angeles starting in early September. The airline says it's seen tremendous demand for the routes since their launch earlier this year.
In Ottawa, a Liberal motion to change the capital gains tax has passed in the House of Commons despite a no vote by the Conservatives.
A job-killing tax on health care, homes, farms and small businesses is the last thing we need in this cost of living crisis the Prime Minister has caused. He wants to tax doctors away when we have a doctor shortage. He wants to tax farmers when we have a food price crisis. He wants to tax home builders when we don't have enough homes. He wants to tax small business when our economy is already falling off the cliff and having the worst growth in the G7.
Conservatives have now decided that they will not be voting in favor of fairness for Canadians. They will, in fact, today be voting against the Ways and Means motion to set fairness for everybody.
The change will take effect June 25th. It's intended to require Canadians who make a profit from selling assets pay more capital gains tax. The Liberals say it makes them pay their fair share. The Tories insist increasing the inclusion rate will not hurt billionaires. Instead, it will prompt them to sell their assets and move their businesses elsewhere. If elected, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says he would simplify tax rules, cut taxes, and address favorable treatment of corporations.
The Lung Health Foundation and Ontario's Ministry of Education have teamed up to tackle the growing problem of vaping among teens.
And as our health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, Canada has the highest rate of youth vaping in the world.
We focus primarily with youth so that they can avoid the debilitating impacts of chronic lung conditions in the future.
QUASH is a pilot project with webinars to educate teachers across Ontario about vaping and how to help kids avoid the habit.
We know that over 750,000 kids in Canada vape on a daily basis. A number of them are addicted because of the high addictive properties of nicotine.
A lot of youth are doing it, to manage stress, to manage anxiety, but also, they might be doing it because of social pressure.
So far, they've had 2 webinars for teachers and 1 for parents, and there are many misconceptions about vaping.
For children that have never smoked, vaping is not harm reduction. Vaping is not smoking air or water. It's inhaling over 2,000 substances, many of which are toxic, into young lungs, developing bodies, developing brains.
We've had kids verbalize to us like they notice, that they can't run as much in gym and they can't participate how they used to.
Principal Heather Hickey of Almeguin Highlands Secondary says they've noticed more kids vaping and at younger ages. A recent survey shows certain kids are more vulnerable to vaping, like those in northern communities.
Youth who are in, the LGBTQ2S, LGBTQ+ community and Indigenous youth are more likely to vape than heterosexual youth and white youth.
So far, they've had 120 Ontario schools represented in the webinars, with more planned for the fall. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Coming up, a team has gone to rural Saskatchewan to pick up his space junk. That's coming up after the break.
Social media platform X is moving ahead with a change it previewed a few weeks ago. We previously told you about plans outlined by the website, formerly known as Twitter, to hide public likes from certain posts. CEO Elon Musk said he felt it was important to allow people to like posts without getting attacked for doing so. Some users responded to Musk's post saying they had bigger concerns on X, including the ongoing presence of bot accounts.
It came from above, and now folks living near Ituna, Saskatchewan are buzzing because Elon Musk's company, SpaceX, sent a crew into a field to repossess its space junk.
The discovery was made by a farmer and his neighbors. CTV's Alison Bamford was there for the pickup.
2 employees went farm to farm, retrieving the space junk. Some pieces weighing 100 pounds, others standing 3 meters high. Loading them into a U-Haul to take back to their offices.
I'm afraid we're not able to make any other comments.
SpaceX has yet to respond to our requests for comment, but we do know these are just a handful of at least 8 pieces found across 5 farms. Astronomers say the pieces fell to Earth back in late February, believed to be parts of a trunk from a SpaceX rocket.
Those pieces are huge, right? What if it had fallen on Regina? What if it had fallen on Barry Sawchuk's house, right? Like, it absolutely would have killed people.
Barry Sawchuk found the first piece in April and never thought it would lead to this.
It's community, right? It's our little community and getting together with everybody, and for once in a lifetime thing.
Sawchuk didn't say exactly what he discussed with SpaceX, but told reporters the company is trying to figure out why these pieces didn't burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. The farmer is also receiving compensation, money he plans to donate to the new community rink. Alison Bamford, CTV News.
A drought in southern Alberta has cost ranchers and municipalities millions of dollars over the last 2 years, but it's been a boon to archaeologists, exposing priceless artifacts that tell the story of Canada's earliest peoples.
And as CTV's Bill McFarland reports, they want to tell the story while protecting the delicate connection to the past.
Blackfoot people have been saying, we've lived on this land since the day of creation.
Just beneath the grass, and often the mud here, are the incomplete sentences that make up the story of this land's deep past.
Because we have an oral history, the archaeological record is our only archive.
It was a vastly different place.
So they have memories of ground sloth.
It's always mind-blowing to think about having camels here in Alberta.
Established dates show people lived here 13,500 years ago, but recent finds in Idaho and New Mexico suggest human history in North America could go back twice as far.
As an archaeologist, I can corroborate that using my own research and lines of evidence that typically archaeologists don't explore.
While water levels are returning to normal, exceptionally low rivers and streams brought on by drought have given archaeologists a rare opportunity to gather evidence over the past 2 years. Each one a word or a phrase that contributes to our understanding.
When water levels reduce, that means that we are able then to access parts of the site that would normally be underwater.
Hundreds of generations ago, this stone point helped keep a family group alive.
You can see the twist in there. So that suggests that it was resharpened intentionally on either side to maintain that cutting edge.
Exciting to find, but context is everything.
The association between artifacts is integral to reconstructing the history of what happened in a place.
The sites are fragile. Looting and even passing footprints can erase the evidence, including marks hidden beneath the mud. They're hard to spot on the surface, even for trained eyes.
Sites like this one that just predate the extinction event can tell us about how the populations of these animals were doing leading up to the extinction.
The buffalo jumps are silent, the camels and mastodons long gone. But if left alone, there are still people who can interpret the faint echoes of early Alberta. Bill McFarland, CTV News, Mohkinstsis.
It is fascinating stuff. Back here in Ontario, we have a beautiful day. Really, the whole day's looking fabulous.
If you want to go outside for a walk, maybe you're playing sports outside. I know we're kind of into that baseball, football season for a lot of people, soccer as well. It is going to be nice tonight, but it gets really hot towards the end of the week and the beginning of next week. So hydration becomes really important when it comes to spending time outside safely. For your Wednesday, we are finally back towards a much more seasonal point, and we are staying dry for today. We're looking at high pressure holding firmly, keeping us relatively clear as we kick off our Wednesday. And temperature-wise, we're creeping closer to that seasonal mark. Winds are sitting at 25 here in the city. We're at 19 out towards Ottawa, a little cooler at 18, but honestly not by much. If you are hitting a patio this afternoon, it's that perfect kind of in-between temperature, sitting around 23 at 5 o'clock, feeling like 26. As we step in towards the end of the week, we stay fairly seasonal into the end of the Father's Day weekend, celebrating dad or the father figure in your life. Nice and sunny.
All right. Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day on CP24 at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here at CTV News, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Take care.